He's a maniac. That's what one paper called Sugar Ray Leonard. And they weren't wrong. The smiling champion with the Olympic gold medal and world titles in 5 weight classes was hiding brutal secrets, violence against his wife, massive drug addiction, and childhood trauma that haunted him for decades. This isn't the Sugar Ray Leonard story, you know. Ray Charles Leonard earned his nickname Sugar for his smooth boxing technique. He won Olympic gold in 1976. He became one of boxing's greatest fighters. He made millions fighting legends like Roberto Duran and Thomas Hearns. But as his career exploded, so did his private life. Right after his Olympic triumph, Leonard almost destroyed everything. He found himself in an apartment where people were shooting heroin. He was that near the needle. Someone stopped him at the last second saying, "Hey Ray, don't mess up your life. You're the champ, man." Leonard walked away. But this was just the beginning of his battle with drugs. Despite that close call, Leonard fell into addiction anyway. He openly admitted to using massive amounts of cocaine and alcohol during his boxing career. He said, "Even a lot is not the right word to describe how much I consumed." The numbers were staggering. Leonard spent about $250,000 every year on cocaine. He called it his medicine. Leonard's drug use got worse when he wasn't boxing. After his skills started declining, he used drugs to try to feel the same rush he got in the ring. Boxing was his identity. When that faded, drugs filled the void. The addiction led to serious problems. In Las Vegas, Leonard woke up to find $35,000 in jewelry and cash stolen from his hotel room. He had been on a drug binge. Despite losing all that money, he begged hotel security not to file a police report. He was terrified his wife would find out what he was doing. Getting clean took Leonard decades. He stopped using cocaine in the 1980s when he was still a famous fighter. But alcohol was different. That addiction lasted 20 more years. Leonard couldn't even visit his parents without drinking first. He needed alcohol to cushion himself around his own family. The turning point came on July 4th, 2006. Leonard had an argument with his son Jarrell. That fight made him realize he needed help. He went to his first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. When he introduced himself, he said Ray Leonard, using his full public name. The group laughed and told him to just say Ray. Even in recovery, Leonard struggled to drop his celebrity persona. Since 2006, Leonard has stayed sober, but even now he admits he still thinks about drinking when he sees a minibar. The temptation never fully goes away. But drugs weren't Leonard's only secret. In 1991, during his divorce, something much darker came out. Court documents revealed that Leonard had physically abused his wife Juanita, and he admitted it. Juanita's testimony was horrifying. She said Leonard frequently punched her with his fists. He would throw me around and harass me physically and mentally in front of the children. The abuse went on for 2 years. One incident was particularly brutal. Juanita tried to leave the house with their 6-month-old baby. Leonard spit in her face, pushed her, and shoved her. Then he poured kerosene on the front entrance floor. He threatened to burn the house down. He told her he would not let her leave. Leonard also owned a gun and threatened to kill himself. He threw lamps and broke mirrors during his violent outbursts. This wasn't just hitting, it was complete control and intimidation. When questioned in court, Leonard didn't deny any of it. He admitted he sometimes struck his wife with his fists. He admitted he threatened and abused her. But Leonard said he only did this when he was drinking. However, when asked directly if his drinking or drug use caused his marriage problems, Leonard said no. He wouldn't take full responsibility. The media covered this story in a strange way. Newspapers focused almost entirely on Leonard's drug use. The wife abuse was barely mentioned. Headlines talked about his cocaine confession. They ignored the violence. Even when papers did mention the abuse, they called it Juanita's claims or allegations. But Leonard had already admitted to everything. Reporters suggested that drugs made Leonard violent. They said drugs made him hit her. But Leonard himself denied this connection. And domestic violence experts know that drugs don't cause abuse. They might make it worse, but they don't create violent behavior. The media had a ready-made story about a drug-addicted athlete seeking redemption. They didn't know how to handle domestic violence by a famous sports star, so they mostly ignored it. But Leonard's deepest secret didn't come out until 2011. That's when he revealed he had been sexually abused as a child. Not once, but twice, by middle-aged men. One abuser was a prominent Olympic boxing coach who has since died. Leonard described what happened in his autobiography. The coach took him to a deserted parking lot. After praising Leonard's boxing future, the coach unzipped Leonard's pants and touched him. Leonard wrote, "Before I knew it, he had unzipped my pants and put his hand on an area that has haunted me for life. I didn't scream. I didn't look at him. I just opened the door and ran. Leonard carried this secret for over 30 years. He said he was in a lot of pain as I chased my dream of winning the gold. The boxing ring became his escape. It was the one place he felt safe and in control. Outside the ring, his heart turned icy as a way to cope with the trauma. The abuse affected Leonard's entire life. Only his wives knew the full story. His children and close friends were shocked when his book came out. They had no idea what he had been through. The only time signs of the abuse showed was when Leonard was drinking heavily. Alcohol broke down the walls he had built to contain his painful memories. Leonard decided to write his book after watching actor Todd Bridges talk about sexual abuse on Oprah Winfrey's show. Leonard felt it was time to let go of all those demons. He knew there would be consequences. He knew people might see him as embarrassing or weak, but he needed to tell the truth. The response was powerful. After the book came out, many men approached Leonard to share their own stories of abuse. His courage to speak out helped other survivors come forward. Today, Leonard uses his experiences for advocacy work. He supports diabetes research through his foundation. More importantly, he partners with child abuse prevention organizations. He works with the Enough Abuse campaign to help other survivors. Leonard's story shows how childhood trauma can echo through someone's entire life. The sexual abuse may have contributed to his later addiction and violent behavior. Early trauma often leads to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Leonard's substance abuse and inability to control his anger might have stemmed from that childhood powerlessness. The media's handling of Leonard's 1991 revelations reveals something troubling about how society views different crimes. Drug addiction gets sympathy and redemption stories. Domestic violence gets ignored or excused. Leonard's cocaine use was front-page news. His admission to punching his wife was buried or dismissed. This wasn't an accident. Newspapers had a ready framework for athlete does drugs, seeks redemption. They didn't have a framework for beloved champion beats his wife, so they focused on what was easier to understand and forgive. Leonard's legacy is complicated. He was undoubtedly one of the greatest boxers of all time. He won Olympic gold and world titles in 5 weight classes. He fought legendary battles that made boxing history, but he was also a man who struggled with severe addiction, committed domestic violence, and carried deep trauma from childhood sexual abuse. These aren't separate stories. They're all part of the same person. Leonard has been sober for nearly 20 years. He has become an advocate for abuse survivors. He uses his fame to help others who suffered like he did. Some people see this as redemption. Others think it doesn't erase what he did to his first wife. Leonard's story reveals the dark side of celebrity and athletic success. The pressures of fame can hide serious problems. The public wants heroes, not complicated humans with serious flaws. But real people are complicated. Even champions can be dangerous. Sugar Ray Leonard fought some of the greatest boxers in history, but his biggest fights happened outside the ring, against addiction, against his own violent behavior, against the trauma that haunted him since childhood. Those battles were harder than anything he faced as a professional fighter. The media wanted a simple story about drugs and redemption. The truth was much more complex and disturbing. Leonard wasn't just an addict who got clean. He was also an abuser who hurt his family, and a trauma survivor who suffered in silence for decades. If you learned something new about Sugar Ray Leonard today, hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below.